Well, hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to a new edition of our Debrief. It's episode number 142. It's Wednesday, February the 5th. My name is Rob Howden. I will be joined by David Cole. As this past weekend, we were out at the Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona for the opening rounds of the 2025 Challenge of the Americas. It was a fantastic weekend. Let's dive into the show, presented today by CRG Nordam. CRG is one of the most iconic brands in karting, and we're primed and ready with new material and a never-ending focus on winning. CRG Nordam is the North American distributor for all CRG products. Based outside of Houston, Texas, CRG Nordam supports CRG dealers across the continent, reaching every corner of North America. Check out the CRG KT5 for tag and shifter racing, the Black Mirror for cadet competition, and the FS4 for Briggs. Longtime CRG drivers will be happy to know that the CRG Road Rebel, the standard in quality and performance, is still available. For more information on the CRG product line, head to www.kartcrg.com, and to inquire about a North American dealer near you, please email us at info@kartcrg-nordam.com. All right, back for a couple of days. It was a fantastic weekend out at the Challenge of the Americas. Again, the date, January the 31st to February 2nd. Back at Musselman Honda Circuit. Been going to that track for many years, but now round 1 and 2 of what is an 8-round championship program for the Challenge this year. 4 weekends. We got it kicked off last one.
Yeah, it was a return back with the Challenge. Excited to be back for what I believe is our 14th season. It began back in 2012 with a trip to Tucson, Arizona. So yeah, it's been a long journey with the Challenge. A new era certainly began this year, but it began the right way. No wind. That's the amazing thing when you go to Tucson, Arizona. We always get wind, but this past weekend we did not get the wind, so it was good there. And it warmed up as the weekend went along. So it started off with some cold mornings, but it was perfect weather conditions by the time we got to Sunday.
Yeah, no easy ups were harmed in the making of this event because we've seen that before. The wind rolls through there and people get serious tent damage. But yeah, great weekend, as you said. Like you mentioned, cold in the morning. I think we were 42 the one morning. Sunday was like 52, 53, but it got up like, I think, 77 or 78 on Sunday afternoon. It was absolutely beautiful. All told, in the end, there was 105 entries. So some highlights: Cadet growing to 21 entries, 100cc Junior at 25, and the 100cc Senior category obviously was awesome at 37. A little different, David. The Masters, there was only 8 100cc Masters, and shifters were the disappointment for both you and I.
Yeah, it was not the numbers we wanted to see in the gearbox categories. You know, we typically see double digits in both divisions this weekend. However, we did not. But when you look at it as a whole, I mean, 105 entry totals or 105 total entries for 6 categories is still a solid number to start the year off, you know, in the triple digits with only 6 categories. So that's the main thing. But you know, we saw, I actually put the wrong numbers in certain classes, but it was big to see the numbers in 100cc Senior with 37 drivers battling. And the thing about that category was there were packs. There was the lead pack, the second pack, the third pack, a fourth pack. So there was a lot of pack racing going on throughout the weekend, right, in that category.
Yeah. At one point, David, when I was calling it, there was like the last 15 drivers were all on a huge train. I'm like, what? This is crazy. We haven't seen this before. But it was awesome. Like you said, that was the highlight, I think, obviously, the 37 drivers in the 100cc Senior. But again, the other one was the cadets. You know, we'll talk about them when we go class by class. But the 60cc cadet had 21 drivers. They were the first class in the rotation. And David, every time they rolled out, they put on a show. Like everybody was talking about how great the cadet racing was and the quality of the cadet drivers. Starting first and foremost with race control, the race directors that are part of this program were just so impressed by the cadets this weekend.
Yeah, they did everything right. You know, I think they maybe had one waived that might have been even junior. So, you know, the cadets did a really good job all weekend long, especially with how big the class was. That's something that has grown over the last couple of years where, you know, a couple of years ago, 5 cadets going on track at a time. So we're definitely seeing the youth movement in karting, and cadet categories are one of them across the board. And so, it's great to see that number build. Unfortunately, that's, we gained there and then we lost in shifters. So that's kind of the give and take of an ebbs and flows of the sport. So, but yeah, the 60cc category was fun to watch. A lot of young drivers that are looking to make a name for themselves in that division.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Again, 105 entries all told. There's going to be a big bump when we head to K1 at the first week of March. Looking forward to that for sure. We are underway, folks, with this edition of the EKN Debrief. When we get back after this break, David, to the paddock pass.
Made in the USA. It's not just a statement, it's the mission at Factory Karts of America. Led by four-time Supernats champion Billy Musgrave, Factory Karts manufactures their frames completely in-house at the Riverside, California facility. Built and designed from the ground up specifically for the American karting market, Factory Karts brings new innovations and solutions that are long overdue. Factory Karts bring together the highest quality materials to produce a high-performance, long-lasting kart that has been designed and perfected from 3 years of development, with a focus for a big push across North America in 2023. No other karting manufacturer stands behind its product like Factory Karts does, providing a 2-year warranty on all their frames. Do you remember when American made meant innovative, original, stronger, faster, and just plain better? Well, American made is back. Contact Factory Karts today to join the American made movement. Learn more by visiting factorykarts.com or email Billy anytime at info@factorykarts.com.
Welcome to AIM Sports and the groundbreaking Micron 6 karting data logger. Since its inception, AIM Sports has been at the forefront of motorsport technology, revolutionizing how racers gather data. From its early days, AIM has tailored its innovations to provide precise insights, allowing racers to fine-tune their strategies and push their limits. Fast forward to today, and we're excited to celebrate 30 years of Micron by introducing the latest evolution in karting data loggers, the Micron 6. Designed with cutting-edge features, including 25Hz GPS with mil-spec precision, a 6-axis inertial platform, shift lights and alarms, temperature inputs, and a host of wired and wireless expansions. With 2 CAN buses, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi, it's perfect for karting enthusiasts looking to enhance their game on the track. With its advanced suite of sensors, high-speed data acquisition, and easy-to-use interface, the Micron 6 delivers unparalleled performance on track. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, this powerful tool helps you analyze every turn, every lap, even every heartbeat. Imagine a tool that not only records your lap times, but also analyzes parameters like speed, tire temperature, driver inputs, and engine performance. With the Micron 6, you'll gain insights that can shave seconds off your times and elevate your skills behind the wheel. Don't just drive, be data-driven. Join the AIM Sports community today and equip yourself with the Micron 6 to take your karting experience to the next level. Visit aimsports.com to learn more. AIM Sports, 30 years of Micron.
Welcome back to the EKN Debrief. We're talking about the Challenge of the Americas opener in Tucson, Arizona. Let's jump into the paddock pass right now, brought to you by Sodi Racing USA. What brand is known around the world for its innovation and success? It is Sodi Kart. The Sodi brand returned in full force during the 2023 season thanks to a new exclusive importer, the Karting Distribution, led by industry veteran Terry Germanovich. The French manufacturer Sodi Kart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about the Sodi chassis or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. Sodi Kart, the world leader in the karting industry. Well, David, if we're going to do paddock pass, really the primary thing coming out of the gates, you kind of hinted at it a little bit, being a new era for the challenge. It's the Shinko Racing kart tires, right? With the brand new tire that Andy Saisman is now bringing into the country for FTK Promotions. The Shinko making its debut, if you will, in competition this past weekend.
Yeah, a new era. That's the kind of the focus of the challenge this year, and this is the big part of it. Moving over the Shinko Racing kart tires. That was kind of the focal point, especially on Friday, where we got to see the tire firsthand, talk to a number of the competitors that were there for Thursday practice, for testing the weekend before, and for doing the testing that they've done at home. So kind of getting an idea of what the tire would be. I think the big kind of standout point with the tire was it's a bit slower than what last year's tire was or some previous tires. So that's kind of the first thing you see. Obviously, when you put on a new tire, how does it compare lap time wise to other brands? So I think, Rob, that was kind of the first thing that stood out. But there were other comments about the tire, being in a positive light, that it seems to be a bit more consistent across different heat cycles that it's run. So it's kind of give and take. There was a lot of there was positives and negatives both on the tires.
Dave, one of the big things as well was even though we didn't have a ton of, we didn't have the 120, 130, 140 entries we were hoping for to start off the challenge this year, there was some highlights in terms of the teams that have come in. One of them being a brand new team, essentially, that's been around up in the Pacific Northwest for a little bit. Nelton Race Concepts makes their Challenge of America's debut. Aaron Nelton brought a bunch of drivers down to put under his NRC tent.
Yeah, it's kind of a new team for the challenge. It just kind of really kicked off last year, working in the Pacific Northwest region at the karting programs up there, and he's brought some familiar names under the tent to the challenge, but a lot of new names as well too. And I think that's kind of the positive of it, and that's always what a racing series is trying to strive for, is bringing new teams, new drivers into the program. And you saw that across the board we saw a lot of new names in the cadet division for sure. And certainly in other categories as well across the board. So great to see another team on board with the challenge. Again, this is the West Coast headline championship. And so that's what you want to see. You want to see teams from all over the Western part of the country and competitors taking part in the challenge.
Yeah, it was great to have Nelton Race Concepts there. Obviously, it's going to be a team that's going to continue to grow. If you're talking about teams, or at least brands, one of the brands that really has been a big part of the challenge for the last number of years is GFC. Gary Carlton, his crew, of course, everyone from Formula Works as well, Tony Siragusa. Almost, David, 20% of the field was GFCs this past weekend in Tucson.
Yeah, nearly 20 drivers there, or over 20 drivers competing on GFC karts on the weekend. That's a big thing for the brand itself. They had two dealers there, Formula Works and Scuderia Littell from Utah as well, with drivers there. So yep, that's kind of the big part. But they're continuing to expand. We did an article about their homologation with the FIA CIK, and so now that's helping them kind of go to international events. They were just in Thailand for the Rotax trophy race over there. They're working with a new dealer in Costa Rica. Other countries coming, South American countries, Central American countries, and Asia are kind of the focus right now. Obviously everybody talks about Europe. Well, that's just its own big monster itself. And so that's not really the focus that, GFC is looking at right now, but, the opportunities there with a new homologation, they're able to go in to these countries and be able to provide, a chassis that is, legitimate and legalized through the FIA program. So that's a big part of it, and we're definitely seeing the expansion here in the U.S. from coast to coast.
David, looks to wrap up this edition of the Paddock Pass with a couple of human interest stories that I think were big, and we obviously highlighted throughout the weekend. First and foremost was the cadet driver Pedro Cueto, who was making his race weekend debut after a leg amputation surgery. This kind of story kind of first came to us at the Super Nationals with Pedro, who had cancer in his leg, has a rod in his femur, so had cancer in his femur. Eventually, they said, "Listen, we're going to have to do a leg amputation." But this kid loves racing so much. His total focus was just whatever you do, let's get this thing amputated so that I can get back behind the wheel and let's get things set up to go. So it's his right foot, right, David? It's his throttle foot. So essentially, he had a trigger, for the throttle on the cart. I just think it's such a fantastic story. This kid's got so much passion for the sport.
That's why I was just going to say it's the passion that I love about this kid. He's just excited to be in and around karting right now. And that's exactly what you want to see out of anybody. But with the trials that he's been going through with the leg amputation, it certainly shows his desire to want to be part of karting and motorsports as a whole. So it's going to be exciting to kind of watch him develop. Obviously, it's a learning curve to try and figure out how to utilize the trigger rather than the foot. So we'll definitely be kind of following his progression, as he moves along, and, he got his first race weekend under his belt. Got and the funny part is watching him on grid, even trying to harness the leg so it doesn't bounce around. That's a whole different side of things that they're trying to figure out. How do we make sure we keep the leg in place without it flopping over and hitting the wheel, but we don't want it locked down to where if he was in Thursday or Friday morning, an incident that the leg is locked in and can't be released and he can't get away or get out of the cart safely. So, a lot of different ways of looking at that, but also just trying to adapt to the change and moving forward with what he has.
Yeah, it's just an amazing story. Absolutely love it. I'm going to be following him throughout the entire year. One of the other stories, obviously, that happened, David, kind of centered around the fires that they had in Southern California, and that was Dane Idelson. The community program got together in the karting group out in Southern California, said, "Hey, let's get Dane to the racetrack." Obviously, a lot of his equipment got burned up in the fire. The family, the Idelsons, is losing a couple of houses there. The karting community came together from Nash Motorsports, P1 Engines. Andy Saisman stepped up and provided the entry and everything needed for Dane to come racing. So it was just awesome to see him get there, and he had a great week with a couple of top tens as well. But just to get him, away from the struggles and get his mind off of what happened at home, to get back out and do what he loves and get back behind the wheel this weekend, I think that's a special story.
I know for me, when I get into a kart, I forget about everything else that's going on in my life because it's just, yourself, the kart track. So I hope that is how Dane felt on the weekend. Certainly he seemed in a good mood when I talked to him Saturday morning, just to be at the racetrack and excited to be racing. And that's the great thing about the karting community. It always rallies around people who need support. And that is what happened. And so hopefully, the Idelsons will get back up on their feet, obviously with, getting through the rubble of losing their home and kind of find a new, get reestablished back to kind of have a core place to be.
Yeah, that's it, right? We all sometimes we take it for granted, the fact that we have that safety of your home, and I love your line about getting behind the wheel of a cart, David, and everything fades away, which is exactly that. Doesn't matter what's going on, when you're behind the wheel again, it's 100% focused. I'm sure it was a welcome weekend for Davey with the helmet back on again. That's it for this edition of the Paddock Pass, folks, brought to you by Sodi Racing USA. When we get back after this break, it's time to dive in to some race reports. We'll do 100cc Senior and 100cc Junior after this break.
What brand is known around the world for its innovation and success? It is Sodi Kart. The Sodi brand returned in full force during the 2023 season thanks to the new exclusive importer, the Karting Distribution, led by industry veteran Terry Germanovich. The French manufacturer Sodi Kart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. The Sodi Racing chassis line offers product in classes from mini karts to KZ, all based on years of development and championship seasons around the world. Sodi Racing USA has expanded its dealer network over the last year, bringing the Sodi brand to several local clubs and regional programs. The Sodi Racing USA by PK Sports is the official race team, producing many victories in different levels across the board. And the new Pro Race Academy is designed to cater to the next generation of motor racing, helping boys and girls aiming to make their mark. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about Sodi kart chassis or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. Sodi Kart, the world leader in the karting industry. Fast, fair, and fun. Ignite Karting offers you all of that at an affordable price. Ignite Karting utilizes the spec Margay Ignite K3 chassis with a Briggs & Stratton 206 engine and the Hoosier R80 tire. Everyone in the rookie, junior, senior, heavy, and masters classes compete on the same Ignite K3 chassis, which puts all the emphasis squarely on driver development. Additionally, Ignite Karting is accessible at the local, regional, and national level. Special events for the season include the Ignite Majors that begin with the annual trip to the Daytona International Speedway as part of the WKA Daytona Kart Week, running in both the sprint and road racing events. Those in the Midwest can enjoy the regionally based Ignite Challenge, featuring 5 iconic facilities. Local club programs have also been established in states all across the country, Idaho to Texas, Nebraska to New York, with more tracks and clubs joining the Ignite Karting program. Be part of fast, fun, and great memories with Margay Racing at an Ignite track near you. All information on Ignite events and Ignite kart packages, including dealers in your area, are available at ignitekarting.com. Get off the couch and onto the track this year. Ignite Karting. Fuel your passion.
We are back with this edition of the EKN Debrief, episode number 142. Rob Howden alongside David Cole as we're diving into the Race Report podcast of this past weekend's Challenge of the Americas opener at Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona. Time to dive into the race report right now. Today's report brought to you by Comet Kart Sales. History, success, family. These are 3 words that describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the U.S. The family-owned operation is located just outside Indianapolis and has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in their near 6 decades of business. Their brand new updated online store features everything you need, and they are continually adding new parts to their product line. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. All right, DC, let's dial things in here on the race report. We'll start with 100C Senior, the category represented by Forward Direction Motorsports. Here is the headline. You fill in some information. It is Hodgson doubles up in Tucson debut.
Never been to the Musselman Honda circuit for Oliver Hodgson, the British driver who now resides here in the United States. And so it was a great debut for him at the Tucson facility. Nearly a weekend sweep. The only driver to best Hodgson in a session was Steven Eisert, taking the top time in qualifying for round 1, a 53.408. Aside from that, it was Hodgson after that, winning the pre-final over Eisert and senior rookie Nick Eggleston before the 3 drivers were able to break away from the pack in the main event, with Hodgson going on to take the victory by 0.8 of a second over Eisert, with Eggleston in the 3rd position.
The one crazy thing was Johnny Stamps, UFC driver, very quick. I think he was the fastest in happy hour in that pre-qualifying time practice on Friday afternoon. He was coming at the end of that race. And I think one more lap, he might have been able to get Nick Eggleston for 3rd. He was pushing super hard, tried to over-under coming out of the final corner, David. And I want to say it was a couple of hundredths of a second at the line. He was almost side by side with Nick's coming across the line. So bottom line is Johnny Stamps was super quick all weekend.
He certainly was. Another driver making a senior debut on the weekend, so it was great to see that. how competitive he was. Certainly has the speed. There's no doubt about it. It's just now getting the experience under his belt. And, this was a great weekend to experience racing up towards the front because he was there all week, all day on Sunday as well, with running second to Hodgson all day long. Hodgson came out on his comp cart with a 53.474 to be able to set fast time in qualifying. Ironically, I think that was the only category that actually had a slower time on Sunday compared to Saturday. So that's something, again, we'll have to kind of follow along with the new Shinko tires. But Hodgson went out. It
was significantly warmer on Sunday. That was one of the things that's a great point that he didn't go faster in qualifying. It was 10 degrees warmer from Saturday to Sunday in qualifying alone.
Yeah, but as we'll follow along, all the other categories were quicker. So not sure why that was. Maybe it was just because he was by himself, a draft. I'm not exactly sure why that would be the only category that didn't go faster. So, with that, Hodgson went on to win the pre-final, and then it was a wire-to-wire victory. Stamps was kind of there early on, but lost a little bit as Hodgson was able to drive away to a 2-second margin of victory with those two essentially out away from everybody. But behind him, it was a great battle for third. Went down to the wire, handful of drivers. The story of this one was Macy Williams and Keegan Kaminsky. Kaminsky had an issue in qualifying, didn't complete even a turn as his clutch destroyed coming out of the pit lane for qualifying. So he came from the back of the field to 10th in the pre-final, while Macy Williams, who changed engines after qualifying with an issue, something going on with her engine, she goes from the tail of the field in the pre-final to 14th. So they go from the tail of the field to about mid-pack and then begin to work their way up towards the leaders. And we're in that battle for the third position. But it was Archer Eversman, the driver out of Colorado, who was able to hold off a charging Macy Williams there at the end for the third spot on the podium, with Keegan Kaminsky coming up in the fifth position.
Yeah, it was an awesome battle. Hodgson pulled away. You mentioned that Johnny Stamps was quick. Excuse me. Johnny was the first half of the race. He was about a 10th quicker, and I thought he was closing. I'm like, this is going to be a battle. But then he kind of, Hodgson was consistent, and then Stamps kind of just faded off a little bit, and that was the allowed Hodgson to pull away to that 2+ second advantage. But the battle for third was so good, as you said. I was following Macy Williams coming up like crazy. It was so cool. Found out later that they decided to make a swap over to Ron White Racing Built engine. And so, of course, as you said, going to the tail of the field for the pre-final. And wow, she came up through, turned fast lap in the process. Super fun to watch her work her way through and end up coming home in P4. Just a bottom line great run for Macy Williams. All right, let's move into 100cc Junior presented by Nash Motorsports. Dave, here's the headline. Doan and Gibson split for career first wins.
Yeah, Saturday belonged to Eric Doan. That was the driver with the top returning driver in the junior category. We saw a lot of drivers graduating up to the senior ranks. Doan finished last year in the top 10 of the championship standings. So he essentially came a veteran and showed that on Saturday, a 53.803 for the top time in qualifying before he was battling with junior rookie Drew Jensen throughout much of the day. He and Doan kind of battled it in the pre-final, with Doan taking the win there. And then the two kind of got away in the main event as well, too. They battled. It was a great little battle between the two. Doan, however, got the advantage over Jensen, we thought. Let me confirm something real quick. I'm trying to see. Sorry. Yeah, I wrote the note wrong. Doan got the better of Jensen through the it was basically a last 2-lap battle between the two because they ran nose to tail for much of the race. Jensen threw down a challenge on Doan, and Doan responded, and Doan was able to cross the line first, taking the victory ahead of Jensen. However, Jensen did receive a 2-second penalty for a tramline violation, so that took him off the podium, dropping him down to the 5th position. That moved Jackson Gibson up to second with Luca Popescu in third and Xander Malatesta in the fourth position.
Yeah, it was a great two-driver breakaway. Doan and Jensen pulled away. They worked together. Perfect wingman, get away. And it happened quite a bit throughout the weekend. We actually saw drivers really do the good job of not racing too hard, because we did find so that second group, Xander Malatesta was leading it for a while. Gibson was turning purple laps. They just couldn't work together at all to line up and to try to reel them in. So it ended up being, I think, like almost 3 seconds at one point near the end when Doan and Jensen started racing. Excuse me, when they started racing, like Gibson was right there at the very end. They just lost so much ground during the race, battling and not closing, that they couldn't get themselves in a position to take a run for the race win. It was driving me crazy. I'm like, guys, just line up, work together. Gibson's going purple, just push him. But it never came to be in that. And as you said, allowed Doan to come away with that victory. Gibson, Popescu, Malatesta, and Jensen. Talk about Gibson going purple on Saturday, David. He did not lose any pace coming into Sunday either.
No, he did not. No, Gibson was a quick driver on Sunday, a fast time of 53.473 for qualifying, and was able to edge out Eric Doan for the win in the pre-final. Another great little battle. And again, that's something we saw. It was just a two-driver fight up front all weekend long. We saw it in both pre-finals and we saw it in both finals. Doan and Gibson were able to get away in the main event and, kind of, again, running nose to tail. Nobody doing anything crazy, staying in line, never leave your wingman type mentality. They did kind of battle, go back and forth, but I think it was kind of just to see who was going to be able to lead the duo better. Not so much, anything kind of negative there. So they were able to get away. The two battled once again in the main event with basically going down to the last two laps where, again, Gibson was able to was leading and then lost it to Doan. Doan was able to kind of make the right moves there in that closing lap, running a narrower line, defensive line, and make the right moves coming out of the last couple of corners. Got a good run and then got to the line first. However, a 2-second penalty for Doan after crossing the line as the provisional winner for a tram line violation. So taking away a possible double win weekend. So that moved Doan from first to second and elevated Gibson up to the top step of the podium for his first challenge victory of his career.
And just like we saw in the 100cc senior class and again Saturday as well in junior, the battle for third, fourth, and fifth, the final spot on the podium was wild once again. This time, Malatesta coming out with it. Sergei Karamseli and Derek Wargo were in there. There was a bunch of drivers in that battle for that third spot. Gibson and Doan, long gone, as David had mentioned. But yeah, it was a hectic battle for the final spot on the podium, and Malatesta did a good job coming out with that one. He was really quick all weekend long as well and deserves props for that. But yeah, Doan and Gibson getting wins there. We know Hodgson was able to sweep up there in the senior 100cc class. All told, just really great racing in both of those categories. Off to a quick break. When we get back, my goodness, I need more water.
Yeah, yes, you do.
Race report will continue. Senior shifter, the master shifter, up next.
Ready to step up your game? Joining the Rawlison Performance Group is the obvious choice to take your racing to the next level. Industry-leading driver development is provided by our staff of multi-time national champions, Super Nationals winners, and Team USA members. And at the same time, RPG continues to be a national-level powerhouse race team. Our goal is to help you raise your game and win races. We work with all age groups and are focused on developing those cadet and junior drivers who are ready to take the next step in their racing program. Rawlison Performance Group has set a new standard with our in-house engine program, AVP Engines, headed by Alex Vincent. AVP has become the benchmark in IAME competition. We have the largest OTK inventory that follows our race team, providing trackside parts at all the major events in North America. RPG also offers multilingual support with French, Spanish, and Portuguese-speaking staff. If you want to fight for championships or want to improve your skills and your chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. the Rawls Performance Group. We race to win. The Briggs & Stratton 206 engine is where out-of-the-box ease and outstanding consistency meet to create legendary races. Briggs & Stratton's history in motorsports dates back to when the first engines came off the assembly line in the early 1900s. Their focus on the grassroots level continues to help build generations of racers. Since 2008, the Briggs & Stratton 206 has gained a following that has the engine powering the largest fields in North American karting today. From the club level track programs to traveling regional series and national events, Briggs & Stratton competition provides the most exciting racing in the sport. Engineered and hand-built exclusively for racing, every Briggs & Stratton 206 engine is power tested and serialized before it goes in the box. Karters can take that engine straight from the box to their kart and be on the podium at the end of race day. Be sure to follow Briggs & Stratton Racing on Facebook and through @RaceBriggs on Instagram. To learn more about the 206 engine or to find the North American dealer near you, head to briggsracing.com. Briggs & Stratton Racing, what powers you?
Welcome back to EKN Debrief number 142. Rob Howden and David Cole talking about the Challenge of the Americas opener in Tucson, Arizona. I'm actually out in Salt Lake City right now, and I haven't had my coffee yet because it's only 7 o'clock in the morning when we're recording this. So that, I think, David, I think that's what it is. I think I need a coffee. I got a lot of phlegm build up right now.
You need a mute button for one. That'll help. Your internet's lagging, so your internet's lagging, so that's another problem that we're having. So whatever mountains there in Salt Lake City, you gotta figure something out there.
Yeah, I'm on the internet card right now. The house I'm in, the internet's not working good enough for me, so the speed test was not good. And yes, I'll get. I've been using the mute button, but not enough. I'll get back on it. Dave, let's get into the senior shifter category presented by Sweet Tech Racing Engines. Here's the headline: Avancino sweeps weekend to defend title.
Yeah, it was a dominating weekend for Michael Avancino, the defending champion here at the Challenge in the shifter senior category. A 49.285 was able to put him on the pole position. And it was a wire-to-wire day on Saturday, winning the pre-final handedly and the main event. The main event was a 4.5 second advantage. Nick LeDuc, a winner last year, was able to be the top challenger. Unfortunately, he retired in the main event due to a mechanical issue that allowed Massimo Valiante to move up into the second spot ahead of Nolan Gagnon. So two Ital karts on the podium alongside the CRG.
Let me throw a little Nolan Gagnon. We'll use that, not Gagnon, but that's what I'm here for. Avancino, like you said, pulling away impressively. Valiante was very quick. It was impressive how fast he was, which is great. Gagnon right there to make two ITEL carts on the podium. 3 all total in the top 5 as Andrew Byrne ended up finishing in the 5th spot. But Jack Freese was real quick as well, David. He was actually very strong throughout the entire weekend, coming home with that P4 position. He was battling with Gagnon, just couldn't quite find enough. They went back and forth a bit on the last lap, but Gagnon coming out with that 3rd spot. All told, a pretty strong weekend for Freese.
Yeah, Freese ended up in the top 5 again on Sunday, which was led all day long again by Avancino, a 49.275, so only 1/100th of a second quicker than he was on Sunday. A wire-to-wire win in the pre-final ahead of LeDuc and Bryn, and a wire-to-wire victory in the main event. This time, a 2.9 second advantage over Nick LeDuc, who ran in the 2nd spot. And he was hounded by Valiante, who Valiante recorded a DNF in the pre-final due to a broken exhaust. So he had to come from 9th in the grid up front. And I think he got into 3rd on the opening corner. A great hole shot by him, but eventually was into 3rd through the opening lap. And then right then was challenging LeDuc all race long, just wasn't able to really pull the trigger. So Avancino first, LeDuc second, and Valiante third for 3 different brands. So CRG, Sodi Kart, and Ital Kart on the podium.
Yeah, that was a fantastic battle there. At Valiente, like you said, great hole shot. I remember calling the opening lap, and I figured it would take him a couple laps to come from the back of the short group. No, he was in the third, like you said, like right behind Leduc, essentially. By the time they got over to turn 4, so Freese with another top 5. He ends up 4th again. Gagnon this time finishing in the 5th spot. All told, some really good racing in the shifter kart class there, but not for the lead. As we said, Evans, dominated the action from start to finish. In the master shifter class, it was a dominating run as well. Let's have the headline: weekend sweep for Rook's challenge debut.
Yeah, Joe Rook, the driver from Indiana, a Pro Tour winner, a Stars Championship Series champion, a lot of experience in the master category, Rock Island Grand Prix winner as well too. The guy knows how to drive it. We've seen him do top 10 finishes at the Super Nationals year in, year out. He was the guy to beat in the Shifter Masters division. A 50.386 put him on the pole position for the day and round 1, winning the pre-final and the final wire-to-wire performances in both. It was a 10-second margin of victory in the main event. Michael Gouache was the top challenger. Unfortunately, he pulled off after a couple laps. Something got into his eye. He wasn't quite sure what it was. And rather than try and force anything stupid when you're going 80, 90 miles an hour, he pulled off to the side, made sure he got it taken care of, tried not to injure himself or somebody else. So he pulled off the racetrack early. That allowed the battle for second to go on with Michael Faker and the GFC taking the second spot ahead of, I forgot his first name now.
Marcin
Cloda. So
Cloda. Yeah. So Faker was super quick and got quicker and quicker actually throughout the weekend. He ends up coming home second. Marcin Cloda on the Maranello in third. Faker on a GFC. Chris Mickey on the ITAL, of course, found speed throughout the weekend. He ends up finishing in 4th. And again, Michael Gouache with of the 5 drivers we had in the category pulling off, as David had said. Joe Rook kept things rolling, David, on Sunday in qualifying with a 50.260. But Faker was only 0.08 of a second off. He stepped things up in qualifying on Sunday morning.
Yeah, and kept it through the pre-final there, holding that second spot through that heat race with Joe Rook up front. And then in the main event, Rook was able to drive away, this time only to an 8-second margin of victory over the main event to sweep the weekend. This time it was Michael Gouache who did hold on to the second spot, this time getting around Faker early. I believe it was a hole shot that got him ahead of him. And then they battled behind him behind him for the third spot. A lot of shuffling there, Rob. I'm not exactly how it happened, but I thought all 3 drivers had an opportunity there at one time to maybe steal his third spot.
If I recall, I think Faker had trouble getting off the line in the main event there and fell down. I think he might have went back to actually last. I think Chris Mickey was up to 3rd at one point. Michael Gouache did get a great start to go to 2nd, but it was Mickey up into 3rd at one point, but then he faded off a little bit. Faker had to work his way by Cloda to be able to get that spot. So indeed, it was Rook, Gouache, Faker, Cloda, and Mickey, the lineup for race number 2 on Sunday, when they actually raced with the senior category. They kind of packed things together, FTK and Andy Statesman said, hey, we'll run the 2 shifter classes together. We were done by, I think, 3:30, 3 o'clock on Sunday, which was great. All right, another commercial, folks. When we get back, Race Report will continue. We'll wrap it up with 100cc Masters and 60cc Cadet.
There's a new hot button name in American safety equipment, Stilo USA. Every product with Stilo is focused on safety, comfort, and function. Stilo USA is happy to provide you with the proper safety apparel to keep you protected on the track, and their karting lineup is second to none. New to the product lineup is the Stilo Carbon CMR karting helmet. Designed to revolutionize your karting experience, this carbon fiber crafted helmet is among the lightest on the market, without compromising on safety. The Stilo ST5 KRT karting helmet is manufactured using a lightweight and extremely strong composite material. The KRT provides an excellent fit and comfort level due to its dual density interior foam lining, and it's equipped with a symmetrical visor that offers excellent vision and an effortless central visor locking system. The Stilo ST5 CMR standard was developed jointly by the FIA Institute and Snell Memorial Foundation to ensure safer and lighter weight helmets for younger karters. Drivers rave about the superior comfort levels, lightweight construction, and the unparalleled field of vision that is perfect for the youth helmet line. Stilo didn't stop with their helmets either. The newly developed Carbon Curva rib protector is unlike any other on the market, with a form-fitting solution to offer superior protection. The Carbon Curva 8870 version is FIA homologated and includes a chest protector. Head to StiloHelmets.com to review these products and many more to keep you safe on the track. Stilo, any competition, one helmet. All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the United States, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. 8 brands under the OTK USA banner are winning races and championships across the country in national programs like the Rock Cup USA Florida Winter Tour, the Challenge of the Americas, the SCUSA Pro Tour and Winter Series, the United States Pro Kart Series, and even more programs throughout the country. And OTK products are also front and center on the podium of club and regional races from coast to coast. Tony Kart, Cosmic, Esprit, EOS, and Red Speed have been joined by the Gallard, LN Racing Kart, and CS55 brands. To learn more about a specific product line or to find the OTK USA dealer near you, visit otkusa.com. Specific chassis territories are still available, so kart shops interested in adding a winning component to their product lineups can contact OTK USA directly. OTK, the gold standard of karting.
Welcome back to episode 142 of the EKN Debrief. We'll wrap up the race report brought to you by Comet Kart Sales. Myself, Rob Howden, and David Cole, detailing the Challenge of the Americas opener at Tucson, Arizona. David, let's go to 100cc Masters presented by Ruthless Karting. Here is the headline. Former champ Falcone sweeps weekend.
Yeah, on paper, it is a weekend sweep for Scott Falcone, but it wasn't all that easy. He did come out with the fast time in qualifying at 54.782 to lead the way, but he battled with Eric Jackson for much of the weekend, including the pre-final where Jackson was able to come away with a win. Unfortunately, a tech issue with the clutch took that win away and gave it back to Falcone. So Falcone was on the pole position for the main event, was able to get away from the field, going out to a 9-second margin of victory over the 16 laps. So a big win for Falcone in the main event. Eric Jackson did move himself up into the second spot, but an issue for the engine tech once again. So that took away the second spot for him. It also took away the third spot for Duckworth. The driver who crossed the line in third was also removed from the results. So that promoted Luke Tracy up into the second spot and moved Derek Koznowski up into the third position.
Yeah, let's finish off the top five because it was Derek Koznowski, Bruce Norman, and Steve Weiner had a battle all weekend long. The three of those drivers were just dialing it up. It was really cool to see Steve Weiner kind of step forward a little bit. He was racing hard and was at one point was in front of that group, and they kind of went back and forth. But yeah, Koznowski ended up coming home third after the disqualification for both Jackson and Damon Duckworth. So yeah, he ends up finishing in the third spot. Norman fourth and Steve Weiner fifth. Falcone came back and did it again. He but did not go quicker. He was about 0.2 of a second slower in qualifying on Sunday, David. A 54.974 to try and take another run at the win.
Yeah, I don't think he was really happy with that lap. So he was kind of worried, I think, when he came in that he was still P1, but because the rest of the guys were a lot closer, that's for sure. So, but in the racing side of things, Falcone was able to get away to the pre-final win after battling with Jackson in that race once again. But Jackson removed from the results for an issue in tech once again, promoting Tracy to second and Duckworth into the third spot. And then in the final, Jackson wasn't able to even complete a lap, an issue with the engine, wasn't able to take the green flag. So he pulled in prior to the green flag waving. Up front, Falcone was able to get away quickly and early, driving to a 10-second margin of victory by the checkered flag. And then it was a great battle for the second spot between Tracy and Duckworth able to get him at the line just by a little bit to be able to land his first challenge podium of his career.
Yeah, great. Again, great job for Falcone. Shout out to Precision Works. He was on the Pontano chassis too. Loving the chassis, and of course with a different team than Ford Direction Motorsports, that Pontano starting to take a little bit more control. So good stuff there for sure. Driver coming over fourth with Chad Wallace. Actually, good to have Chad back with the challenge after a couple of years. He had a really rough run on Saturday. Got taken out by a couple drivers getting together at turn 4 in the pre-final, and then had a broken bumper mount in the main. So he didn't get many laps on Saturday, but had a full run on Sunday. Ends up coming home fourth on the Gallard. And once again, this time Bruce Norman coming out ahead of that Kozlowski-Wiener battle. He ends up finishing in the 5th spot. Let's go into the 60cc cadet class presented by the Karting Collective. Here's the headline. Ramirez and Martinez grabbed first wins of 2025.
Yeah, like we talked about in the By the Numbers, this was a great class to watch. A lot of different drivers battling up at the front. The driver who started things off was Connor Lipka. The 57.540 set him fast time in the qualifying session, but it was Lucas Tarango coming away with the pre-final win during that race. And then in the main event, we had 4 drivers battling it out at the top. It was Tarango, Lipka, Nathan Ramirez, and then Luis Martinez, all in the fight. Lipka eventually lost the draft, was leading as they took the white flag, but came through turn 5, losing the lead. I'm not sure if he just left the door open or they were able to get through. But
he left
go ahead.
I know. I apologize. We got that delay. Yeah, exactly that, David. Lipka made 2 really good moves, back-to-back laps in turns 2 and 3, the chicane. Was able to over-under Tarango, then over-under Ramirez. He did a fantastic job, and he just didn't run any kind of defensive line in turn 5. And Tarango, I think, went right back through. Ramirez went right back through. He just didn't defend in turn number 5.
Well, it ended up being a 3-wide finish at the line with Ramirez taking the victory by just 37 thousandths of a second ahead of Tarango, with Lipka crossing the line in 3rd. Martinez sitting there in the 4th spot. So the top 4 crossing the line all together.
Yeah, and indeed, that was a fantastic battle, and it's just a ton of fun to watch. And again, tough one for Lipka because he had done such a good job to go to the lead. But nonetheless, coming home with a top 3 finish. Koa Sato on the GFC rounds out the top 5. Coming back into Sunday's racing, Ramirez then stepped it back up. Of course, you got that momentum up, the first win there on Saturday. He qualifies on the pole with a 57.466. But David, there's just such good racing in this cadet class. They did it all over again, essentially, on Sunday.
Yeah, and it was Lipka and Ramirez that were up towards the front in the pre-final. Unfortunately for them, they were caught passing under yellow. And that dropped them out of the top 2 positions with a 10-second penalty. So that put them back to 11th and 12th in the pre-final result, putting Lucas Tarango and Luis Martinez in the top 2 positions. So on the front row for the main event. And they were the 2 drivers that were able to kind of get away in the main event as they all battled behind them. Eventually, Ramirez and Lipka were able to fight their way up into the second group. So they were battling for that 3rd position. But up front, it was Martinez and Tarango. And when the checkered flag was waving, it was Martinez able to take the victory, his first at the challenge, by 0.3 of a second over Tarango.
Yeah, Lucas threw everything he could at him on the final lap and wasn't able to get by, and a big win for Martinez. He was pumping that fist coming across the line. Ramirez came back. He and Lipka, like you said, had a great run coming after the penalty of the pre-final. Ramirez ended up in 3rd, Lipka in 4th. And Joshua Wheeler, who was 3rd in the pre-final, came through for a top 5 finish. All told, the 60cc cadet guys put on such a great show. The racing was so good in so many of the categories, but these guys really kicked off every session being at the front of the rotation. And it was really impressive to watch what they did. I mentioned at the very start that even the race control was just commenting on how great the racing was in cadet. And that's what you love to see, man. These kids were showing each other lots of respect. It was a ton of fun. All right, folks, last break in the action. When we get back, we'll go through our Constructors Championship. We'll do a little wrap-up, and we'll give you the EKN trackside race calendar to cap off the show.
A new era is here for TB Kart USA. The face of TB Kart USA has changed heading into 2025, with the ownership group behind the Amarillo Kart Circuit becoming the new U.S. importer and distributor of the TB Kart brand. Located at the Amarillo Kart Complex in Panhandle, Texas, owner Kyle Yachinsky is motivated to expand the TB Kart brand from coast to coast. As the brand's dealer network extends, TB Kart USA formed a partnership with Norway Motorsports Park to become the exclusive distribution partner for the North Central United States. TB Kart USA is working with current dealers around the U.S., striving to add more dealers and partners to help support TB Kart drivers at the local and regional programs. TB Kart is among the more innovative chassis manufacturers, growing into one of the leading brands in the world over the last decade. The history of the parent company for TB Kart dates back over a century in Urba, Italy, with the Brenna family. Their passion for manufacturing and racing led to the development of their first karts in the mid-1980s. TB Kart USA will continue to work directly with the TB Kart factory on development of each chassis model, ranging from kid kart to shifter kart. This strong relationship has led to new and improved front-end geometry, along with brake system changes to bring the TB Kart brand to the front for this season. The globally recognized TB Kart rental kart product line, featuring 5 different models, is also available through TB Kart USA for tracks to utilize here in the US. To learn more about joining the TB Kart USA distribution network or to find a dealer near you, contact them via email at amarillokartcomplex@gmail.com or call 210-787-0589. Motor mounts. They keep your engine attached to your chassis, right? The answer is, they're much more important than that. Your motor mount is critical in transferring 100% of the power from your engine through to your tires and the racetrack. You need this to get on the podium each and every time you race. Odenthal Racing Products is here for you, providing the best motor mounts on the karting market today, all designed to make sure you're using all the horsepower you pay for. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience in providing products with unmatched quality and value for our racing community. The Pro Series mount for 2-cycle engines, which is available in 0, 5, and 8-degree inclinations, provides a rigid structure to help keep vibration to a minimum without adding too much weight to your setup. The 4-cycle Easy Set system is one of the most popular mounts for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Multiple mounting holes provide the most adjustability depending on your chassis and seat placement. To ensure a tight fit to your chassis, our ORP wedge clamps get the job done, and they feature a number of design updates to provide a lower profile and lighter weight. The clamps are available from 28mm to 32mm in both standard and Euro style sizes. And now, Odenthal has also revolutionized the karting industry with its new Easy GP camera mounting system. Designed to mount anywhere on your chassis with 1 or 2 cameras, the ORP Easy GP camera mount is your solution to capture that onboard winning moment. Head to odenthalracing.com and find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, proudly made in the USA.
Back out of here to cap off this edition of the EKN Debrief. Rob Howden alongside Dave Cole. Episode 142 as we're capping off our race report from the Challenge of the Americas opener in Tucson, Arizona at the Musselman Honda Circuit, wrapping up our EKN Trackside Live coverage. David, let's go Constructors Championship because, man, a number of brands are getting victories.
8 different brands in total taking the 12 victories. So a very, very diverse field of brands taking victories. We'll start with the 4 drivers who were able to double up on the weekend. Comp Kart with Oliver Hodgson, CRG with Michael Avancino, the Maranello with Joe Rook, and the Pantano with Scott Falcone. So those 4 brands taking 2 wins apiece. And then we have 4 different brands taking a win as well. Esprit, Gillard, Parolin, and Croc Promotion are the other 4 brands. So 8 in total of the 12 that were run on the weekend.
Yeah, and you had mentioned in one of the shifter classes where we had 3 different brands on the podium, which was great. One of the things you don't talk about until the end of the weekend, and I mentioned it when we were all said and done on Sunday, David. 0 red flags, no real major incidents on the track during the action. I thought, again, I talked about how great the racecraft was, and when you take a step back and realize no red flags, and there really weren't that many incidents on track, it was a really clean weekend.
It was a very clean weekend. I think we had maybe one incident that we saw, some bodywork get beat up. Another time where we had a driver get locked up on the back of another cart at the start of a race. So I think those were the only major issues, both happening kind of right in front of everybody. Aside from that, we did see one driver go off and do a little bit of a Moto X jump on one of the hills and after one of the corners. So that was pretty wild as well too. But no major incidents. No major wrecks throughout the weekend.
David, in the by the numbers segment in our first part of the show, we talked about the fact that 105 entries, but with only 6 classes, still an average of 17 entries per class, and we're expecting a lot more when we head to K1.
Without a doubt, you got to expect some more shifter drivers will be there with it being in the Southern California region. But just overall, when you look at it, 17 entries per class, that's a great average to have. I think Andy would like to see 20 happen a little bit. And I think that would be a better feeling. And I think we'll see that over at least, K1 and Sonoma. We'll see how things happen in Utah. They do have a lot of local drivers there. So hopefully we'll see a lot of local contingent there. With it being its first event ever there. So that'll be something to kind of follow as we move along.
Yeah, new era, as David mentioned, to get Shinko Racing Kart tires. The new era is now underway. And again, as you said, David, a lot of really good feedback from positive but insightful feedback from the drivers we spoke with.
And one thing I didn't say, and that was kind of the common theme, is everybody's on the same tire. So it's all about learning. And the thing you kind of look at as we went through all the classes, the fast guys were still the fast guys. We're still talking about many of the same names we talked about last year. No matter what you have for tires, you're still going to have the fast guys be the fast guys. So that's the crazy thing about it. But it's the same for everybody. So it's learning how to adapt to the tire. And certainly as the temperatures got warmer, that was something that was brand new for a lot of the competitors, and trying to understand and see how the conditions change with a tire.
Yeah, and I think everybody got better on Sunday as well. We talked to Michael Avancino about that. He was getting a good feel for the tire on Friday and Saturday, but they could make a couple changes potentially for Sunday. So, like I said, everybody on the same tire, level playing field. Who picked up the tire and what you wanted setup-wise, I think was kind of the key for some of the drivers. But as you said, the fast guys were still the fast guys. Okay, let's wrap up the show now, folks. The EKN Trackside Live Race Calendar presented by Parolin USA. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products. The brand is rich in history and success dating back to the early 1990s throughout Europe. Today, Parolin is among the winningest brands in the USA and around the world. Carters can head to the ParolinUSA.com website, where the entire chassis line and parts are available to you, with shipping available all across North America within 48 hours. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. Folks, we are right back at it. We were in Tucson last weekend. We go straight back to Orlando. Time to wrap up the SuperKarts USA Winter Series rounds 3 and 4. David, February 7th, 8th, and 9th. We are heading back to Orlando.
Excited, yeah. Ready to get back on the plane tomorrow. Heading down to what will be a warm Florida, because that wasn't exactly warm. It was okay. I'm not going to complain about the weather that we had in January, but it's definitely going to be a warmer. So those who love the heat are going to love this weekend. So wrapping up this year's SuperKarts USA Winter Series at the Orlando Kart Center in Orlando, Florida, rounds 3 and 4 going to be an exciting weekend as we decide this year's champions.
Yeah, at the end of the month in February, I'm going to be heading to NOLA for the USF Pro Championships, then off to St. Petersburg to the start of the series, and of course, start of the IndyCar as well. David, on the February 21st to 23rd weekend, you're going back out to Arizona. I mentioned Phoenix, that was incorrect, but you will actually be at Phoenix, the Phoenix Kart Racing Association. You'll be there at that track for the Rotax Max Challenge USA West Trophy event. It's going to be fun for you guys out there, and be good to get back to Phoenix as well.
Back to Phoenix, back to some road tax racing. We were at the U.S. Trophy Final at Newcastle, and just excited to see some of the first few tickets that are going to be handed out to the Road Tax Grand Finals in Bahrain. We saw some of those just get handed out this past weekend in Orlando. So more tickets and hopefully more drivers being part of to be able to take part in the grand finals at the beginning of December, end of November. But Phoenix Kart Racing Association in the 21st to the 23rd.
Yeah, in just over a month's time, we'll be back once again. We mentioned already the K1 circuit in California. The Challenge of America is back at it March 7th, 8th, and 9th. David, our first trip to K1 circuit. I can't wait to check the place out. And I'm hoping for some big numbers. You mentioned before that we're probably going to get some more shifters. I just think we're going to get more drivers across the board. People are going to want to come out, get on K1, and of course, be part of the challenge.
Certainly, yeah. We saw the big numbers at K1 when they had their first event. So there's now club racing going on at the K1 circuit. But with the challenge, people love it in SoCal. People love the FTK promotions, love what they do. Some of them just don't like traveling. So we always talked about the Cal Speed bump. Now we're going to have the K1 bump. So that's hopefully what we're going to see on March 7th through the 9th.
That's it. Looking forward to getting back to the racetrack, as we said. But this does wrap up our EKN Trackside Live coverage from the Challenge of America's opener at the Musselman Honda Circuit. We start, of course, with the outlap, wrap it all up with the debrief. We're going to do the same thing this coming weekend with the SuperKarts USA Winter Series finale at Orlando. Again, thanks for tuning in, folks. We do appreciate it. On behalf of David Cole, my name is Rob Howden. Bye for now.